Okay, new series, I'm just Wikipediaing it, by CBS, oh god, uh, called Elementary, updating a Sherlock Holmes based in New York, crime drama, all this other stuff. Um, at some point, if I ever figure out how to do it, I think I'll put up the trailer and let it explain itself, but, yeah, I don't know. I'll try. But basically, it's pointless. It's completely and totally pointless to do this series because the Brits have already done it. It's called Sherlock. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's 3 2-hour long episode, almost TV movies that do a wonderful job of the series of Sherlock Holmes. And two, it's just really, really lazy, in my opinion, to do Sherlock, to have the Americans do Sherlock, because it's so easy for them because Conan Doyle's stories are public domain. They can use them. They're not going to get sued or they have to pay royalties. So, there's that money issue. So that works for them. But they have American crime drama has tons of their own detectives from this period, which is the Conan Doyle period. They could do an update of Edgar Allan Poe's detective. I can't remember his name right now, but one of the very earliest detectives. But they can also do the old school pulp fiction detectives. They could do Nancy Drew. I mean, if they went back to the original stories, they'd show Nancy Drew was in her late teens, early 20s. She was driving in the first book I skimmed through when I was at Chapters. I don't know about the Harding boys, but, they could do that. They could do Nero Wolfe. I mean, what would a modern day Nero... They did... let's see... I think it was... Yeah, A&E. They did Nero Wolfe Mysteries, in which they set it back in the classical period, which is the early 50s, so, that classical period. But if they did it nowadays, what would Nero Wolfe be like now? I mean, what would this very large, shut-in guy be like? Nowadays, he'd be a shut-in, and he would, he has two loves, food and taking care of orchids. What would that be like nowadays? I mean, you could do that, food and orchids. But what would Archie be, in the books he's always recounting the story. They did Nero Wolfe nowadays, he'd be doing a blog like Watson, but he'd be a videographer. I think that would work because he could be like, yeah, I shot this, you have to take a look at this. Instead of him trying to describe the whole scene, he could just show Nero, and Nero would just point out something he might have missed or something. They could do Mike Hammer, who was a classic, old school gin drinking woman, woman abusing toughs. I mean, what would that be like now? Anger management and, AA meetings for that guy. That would work. That would so work. Like I said about Nancy Drew, she could drive, and, she's such a classic character. They should do that. Who else is out there? Nero Wolfe, Modern Shut-In, they can reimagine that. Nancy Drew, just stick to the original stories and update them and they'll be fine. Don't make her a teeny bopper, don't make her some, whiz kid, 17, not maybe 17, but, I don't know, maybe they should make it more, maybe they made Veronica Mars, like, as a modern day version of, Nancy Drew. I have to look into that at some point. They could do Nero Wolfe. They can do Sam Spade. They could do Sam Spade. I mean, they can totally do Sam Spade. I mean, what would this original character from the East Coast be like if he was in the modern day East Coast? I mean, what would he be like if he had to go to down Castro Street and had to deal with all these gay people? I mean, what would that be like? I mean, they could do so many different stories. They just have to do. They have to be lazy and follow the Brits. That's just lazy. That's just awful. This is why I have no hope for American network television. This is why you show a network television, because they're probably cheap. I mean, you pay cable, you get the networks. In the States, you probably put up the bunny ears or the antenna, the Hicks, and you get the network. You get your local affiliate to one of the big networks like CBS and NBC, and they give you these shows. But that's it. There's nothing original on. They're always copying the Brits, and I'll talk about this more later. Them copying the Brits and where they failed and why they failed. Thank you.